So I'll do that right now here with you guys. Okay. So we'll go back to the guest sheet. So when we're going through the guest sheet, right, and I'm filling this out with the customer, you're asking those kind of questions, and if you get even a hint, right, of where you think they might not be able to get approved, that's when you ask them, be like, hey, you know what? What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a quick pre-approval. Make sure that you guys qualify for the low interest rates that we offer. Okay? That way, when I'm giving you a quote for what the payment is gonna be, it's as accurate as possible for what you actually qualify for. Because there's a multitude of different factors that the banks actually look for in terms of what your approval is going to look like and what you would qualify for. So it'll just make it so much more accurate for us for when we actually find your car that works for you, okay? Right? And then you just pull out the sheet and then you just start, you'd be like, yeah, just go ahead and fill this out for me. Like, you just kind of assume that the customer is going to they're going to fill it out because it's just part of the process, right? So that's the whole point of going through this process like as diligently as possible, is so that customers, they know that this is just how it works. When you go into the dealership, this is just how it works. Yeah, this is what we do here. I'm going to collect all this information, right? You're setting the expectations right away. So write that down too. Setting expectations. So when customers come in, it's definitely good. Like when you sit down, you don't just pull out the sheet and just start asking them questions. You explain to them why. Hey, you know what, boss? I'm just gonna quickly go through some information on here that's gonna make it easier for me to find you the right vehicle, right? Because the last thing I wanna do is find you a vehicle that's not gonna make sense for you. Okay? So this is gonna be super quick, super easy. All right? Is that fair? And then you start going through the process, right? And like we did last time, you ask them questions, and then that's when you're building rapport and trying to get to know them a little bit too. I think I was doing that last time, right? We were doing the, like we were just kind of joking around, you know, relaxing. It's not, like I said, it's not as robotic. You don't want it to be robotic. But always, you should make it a habit as part of your guys' process to ask for the pre-app. Because if a customer does the pre-app with you and we touch their credit, chances are they're gonna end up buying a car, right? Unless they're a roach and their credit is terrible and they have every single dealership checking their credit and they don't really care, right? But most customers, if they even have decent credit, if you check their credit, they're not gonna wanna go anywhere else because you already checked their credit. And then now they're obligated. They're like, okay. And a lot of times people come in and then in their mind, they're already planning on buying a car from Hyundai. It's just a matter of you guys making sure that you're doing your job correctly so that they can move forward on whatever car they're already planning. Because I want you guys to remember another thing. Most customers, before they even come into the dealership, they've already done all their research online. So they know exactly what car they're looking for. They looked online to see what's the closest dealership, and then they ended up here, right? So it's usually more convenient. So that's another thing that I want you to make sure you guys remember. Let's stay on this guest sheet here. So when you're going through, like, okay, hey, what area of the city do you live in? You know what I mean? And they tell you, like, hey, I just live down the street over here. Okay, perfect. So you came here because it's a little bit more convenient for you, right? But if they tell you, hey, I'm actually came from, you know, the Southwest, right? That's when you start asking them questions. Oh, is there not a Hyundai dealership that's a little bit closer to you? Oh, I'm glad you asked, Denny. Actually, yeah, we went to South Trail, you know, but we didn't end up buying something, right? And then you can start getting that more information and being fine. Oh, like what happened over there, you know? Because then you know, because if something went wrong over there, then you're gonna know not to do the same thing that they did over there, right? Because a lot of times they might just be like, yeah, no, the price was too high and they're charging all these fees and stuff like that. And then you're like, okay, you know what? That's when you know you're gonna have to tread carefully, right? And sometimes too, I want you guys to remember this as well. Sometimes, especially on new cars, like when you have educated clients, like it's gonna be a lot harder to make money off them, right? But if we have the Northern package, at least it's a 2-pay, you know what I'm saying? So that's easy to justify, but a lot of times if you have a customer that's done a ton of research, already been to other dealerships, you still wanna get that deal, right? Because those deals are gonna add up. If you guys hit, you know, 10, 12, 15 car bonus, 18 car bonus and stuff like that, that extra deal that you got is gonna make a big difference. Plus, when you guys are selling back end, which we haven't went through back end yet, right? Okay, so I will, probably not today, but I'll definitely be going over like our back end pitches and how you guys can utilize that, because like you guys are already all pretty much selling cars, right? Because you guys have all sold cars now, right? You sold your first car too already, right? By yourself? You have? Yeah. See, that's what I mean. And you just got a deal the other day too. Split? Two splits, right? Three splits, yeah. But you're starting to get, have you started talking to customers on your own now? Okay. So you're pretty much, and now Boss has already been crushing it already. Justin's got a few deals on his own. Exactly. That's perfect. That's exactly how you want to frame it. You want to say, hey, look, to be honest with you, we use all the prime lenders. So we use TD, Scotiabank, RBC, Service Credit Union, basically all the prime banks. And what our finance team does is they're almost like a mortgage broker, right? So if you were going to get a mortgage on a house, what they're going to do is they're going to shop the rate for the lowest rate that you qualify for. So everything is credit dependent, so we can't guarantee anything, and that's why we do put a little bit of a range on the bill of sale, because until we submit it to the banks and get a firm approval, we can't actually guarantee anything, unfortunately, right? But you got to just keep in mind, our finance team, they actually work for you guys, right? Because at the end of the day, if we can't get you approved and get you a low interest rate that works for you, you're not going to take the car anyways. So if you don't take the car, then the dealership doesn't make any money, right? So you got to keep in mind, we work as a team here, as a collective. The sales staff, the sales managers, our receptionists, our detailers in the back, service, our parts department, our finance team, we all work together. And at the end of the day, if we're not pushing cars out, then nobody's making money in the dealership, right? So we're going to make this work for you, I can guarantee it, right? So that's a lot of times, if somebody does ask about the interest rate, get into that little bit of a spiel and let them know, like, hey, we actually will do our absolute best to get you the lowest interest rate possible, right? You are going to have the odd client who's very sick. No, I need to know what the interest rate is, right? And so that's why, especially like for new cars too, like we have a bunch of new cars right now. So it is good to know what the rates are so that you can let them know what the rates are. Because look, you're gonna get some customers, and when I was on the sales floor, I was very good at dealing with those kind of customers that were like, they did all the research, you know, old fucking Bill, he already talked to his other Hyundai dealership, so like he knows what it is, he's just testing you. So sometimes you're gonna have customers that test you to see if you're gonna bullshit them or not. So you guys gotta be on point with that. So you gotta gauge that, you know what I mean? And see kind of where they're at. And they're like, oh, well, what's the interest rate on the new car? You know what I mean? Oh, it's bank rates anywhere from like 8 to 10%. Like, oh, I saw on your website it was 6.49%. You know what I mean? And then they're gonna get mad at you, and sometimes you can burn the client right away. Did you have a question? For a new car? No. I just told you not to say that, bro. No. I wouldn't say industry average. I wouldn't say any of that stuff. So you just put it on the banks, put it on finance, and and if you have to give them a range, you can give them a range, right? Worst case scenario, look, you're gonna get a few customers the odd time that are super, super stickler about exactly what interest rate they're gonna get on a used vehicle. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to the pre-approval. If you didn't even do a pre-approval, you're gonna say, hey, look, Tabish, this is the thing, man. If you can get qualified for the low interest rate, what we can do is we can just do a quick pre-approval, and then I can double check with my finance team, and if they give me the go-ahead that we can get you the low interest rate, then I'm gonna ask them and see exactly what the lowest is, but let's see if you even qualify. So if you qualify, then okay, sure, we can desk it at the lowest interest rate possible, as long as we know that you can qualify for it, right? Because look, the last thing that I want to do is give you a quote here, and then you go see finance, and all of a sudden the payment is about $40 bi-weekly more than what you agreed to, right? Are you gonna be happy if something like that happens? Of course not, man. You're gonna be upset, and then guess who's gonna get in trouble? Me, because you're my customer, and you're gonna be mad at me. So I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure this is as smooth of a process as possible for you, right?
I also say, like on the guest sheet, when you're asking about like who the lien holder is, if they say anything other than like a prime lender, like RBC, then you're like, oh, okay. Then you can ask about their rate, because if they were approved on a higher rate before, there may be like some conflict.
100%. So when you're asking, like, you should always be asking that question too, right? So remember this, if somebody does have a loan, like let's say they're trading in their car, right? So this is part of your process. You're always gonna be asking them what they're driving, and if they're still financing, like, oh, do you still owe money on that car? And if they're like, yeah, I do, okay, do you know how much? And if they're not sure, hey, no worries, do you at least know what bank your financing is through? And if they say something like, oh, it's through LendCare or some type of subprime bank. If it's a bank that you don't know, you're like, I don't know what that is, because I know you guys probably don't like know all the she's been working a little bit with subprime, so she probably knows a little bit of the subprime banks. Cavalcade, like those kind of banks. So if you hear a bank that doesn't sound like a prime bank, then you already know the customer has bad credit, right? So that is another thing, because you're gonna ask that question before you even get to the pre-approval, right? Because you're going to be asking them about their car. So when you're asking them about their car, then you know right away, okay, I need to do a pre-approval on this customer, because the last thing you guys want to do is spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with a customer, close a deal, just to find out their credit is absolutely horrendous and they're not going to get approved for a shopping cart. You know what I'm saying? Like that, believe me, that's very frustrating. And like, look, this is the thing, like these little tips and tricks that I'm trying to give you guys is to make it so that you're more efficient with your time, right? Because you guys don't want to spend all this extra time with these customers who are not qualified. If you can qualify them correctly, it's going to save you a ton of time, and then you can go boom on to the next customer, right? But anyways, back to what I was saying about those other clients that are coming in and they know the interest rates and stuff like that, and they know all the information. So this is going to come with experience, but you guys have got to practice and start to understand like which customers are, you can tell like they're super well educated and they know what they're talking about, right? You can't beat around the bush with them. You got to be straightforward with them and just let them know. You know what I mean? You got to tell them, be like, yeah, no, it's on approved credit, 6.49% at 84 months. You know, so if you qualify for it, yeah, you can get it, right? And then you're very straightforward about it, because you have customers that come in and they already know everything, right? They're just trying to see if you're going to bullshit them or not. So their bullshit reader is on, right? The whole time. And you can quickly burn a customer, and then they're not going to tell you why. They're going to head out, but you could have got that deal. You know what I'm saying? And like on these new car deals especially, like I'm saying, like we want to get all those deals. So this is something that you guys are going to have to work on. It's not going to be like super easy and super simple right away. You're just going to be able to like understand like and qualify those customers like right off the bat. But over time, you're going to start understanding, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, I don't want to bullshit him. You know what I mean? Because think about it. If you were going in to buy something and you already knew and you did a lot of research online and you kind of knew what everything was, as soon as, like if you're asking like a salesperson a question, if they're bullshitting you, how are you going to feel? Not trust them, right? You're going to be like, oh, I don't even want to deal with this guy, man. Justin's been bullshitting me ever since I started to chat with him. You know what I mean? Because look, some of these customers, one of the first things they're going to ask you is a question to try to throw you off. So they're going to ask you right away, oh yeah, like what's the interest rate on this one? You know what I mean? And then you can just tell them straight up, be like, look, I don't know exactly, it depends on how long of a term you want to go on, but they can range anywhere like on this one, like anywhere from like 5.49 on the low end all the way up to 6.99 if you go to the longest term, right? So you got to also know your shit a little bit when it comes to the new cars specifically is what I'm saying, right? It's of selling like 20 to 25 cars a month. The only reason I could do that is because I can also help out those customers that are very well educated and they know what they're talking about. So believe me, people are going to really appreciate that if you're very straightforward with them. Obviously, like, you know, you got to, there's going to be times, and like, look, I had to do it as well. Like when there's times when like you have a laydown who like, you know, doesn't really care, like you got to take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? And make money on that. Because look, at the end of the day, that customer, anywhere that they go, people are going to make money on them. So those are usually the happiest customers as well. The customers that you take care of and you give good service to them. They're not beating you up on every little dollar. They're usually the happiest customers. And then those customers send you all the referrals too. So that's another thing too. Like what Carlos was just saying, it's like even when you make good money on those customers, because you take care of them and they have your personal number and they contact you, who gives out their personal numbers to customers? None, you guys don't?
I do.
You guys do? Okay, because I used to do that shit all the time. And I would text customers from my phone and everything. Like when I was at home, I was like on my phone a lot of the time, still contacting customers. Or if I would get a referral or something like that, I would just call them right away off my phone. I'm not waiting till I get to work to call this customer. Like this is the thing as a salesperson, you guys are on all the time. So like even when you like now that I'm a manager, it's different. Like I go home and I'm like, yo, I don't want to check any of my shit. You know, unless like Joe needs something or one of the other managers contacts me, I'm like, yo, like, bless you. I'm not really worried about that kind of stuff, right? But like as a salesperson, it's like you need to be available for your customers all the time because they're gonna contact you, they're gonna need something from you. And a lot of times if you have a customer, like let's say, see another thing is too, is you guys need to be like, you just need to jump right into the fire. So like anytime you have a customer that's upset about anything or they're trying to reach out to you about something, you just need to go head on and just handle it right away. Because the fastest thing to let the little fire turn into a raging blaze is when you leave it alone and you don't communicate with customers. So that's another thing I just want you guys to remember is to just make sure you're always communicating and handling those things like right away. Okay? All right, I'm getting a little off track here. But okay, let's go back. So we're still on the guest sheet here. And so we were going through, you were asking about the liens, right? So that's good. And then why we would be asking for the credit application. Okay, so do you have that credit application? Yeah. So here, I'll quickly go through it, since that we're talking about it. I'll quickly go through it. So a lot of times, you know, it's good if you can go through it and write everything down with the customer. That's totally fine. But if, you know, sometimes like I would just be like, hey, I'm gonna give you this, and if you could just fill this out, right? And then if you run into any problems, then let me know and then I can kind of guide you through it, right? Because they're gonna know all this stuff right off the hop and it's a little bit easier, right? I know everybody has a different process of doing it, but I would always just get customers to go through it and just do it. Then you have to verify it and double check it, make sure they have everything. Oh, you're missing your social insurance number. Like, do you remember what your social insurance number is so I can put it on here, right? Because finance is gonna need that to double check. And so then you could just double check and make sure they have everything. And if there's anything missing, then you ask them. Like the reason why finance doesn't want you guys to be like, get the customer to do it is because they'll be missing information. But honestly, most of this is pretty straightforward here, Justin. So you're just getting their name, their date of birth, right? Their SIN number it asks for, and then it asks for their address, and then how long they've been at the residence, because when we submit it to the banks, we need to put how long. So if it's less than 2 years, then sometimes we have to provide their previous address as well, right? So that's why we find out about this. So that's another thing you guys got to remember. So if you're getting their address, and if their time at residence says 3 months, then you're gonna have to ask them, okay, what was your previous address, and how long were you there for? So it's 2 years. So just remember that, 2 years for how long they've been at the location at wherever they're at, okay? And then their employer and how much money they make and stuff like that. So this is all pretty straightforward, but this is important because this is what we're gonna submit to the banks, right? We're gonna submit to the banks, and this is gonna have a lot to do with how much they can afford as well. Because if somebody's like, oh, I'm working at Starbucks and making $16 an hour, right? You're not gonna go show them a fully loaded Palisade because they're probably not gonna be able to get approved for it. Unless they have, you know, 30K down and they're only gonna be financing 30 grand or something like that. Then there's a possibility, right? Like we can always find ways on getting people approved. But also, like, you know, we wanna remember that like we're not like all other salespeople. It's like, guys, we're all human beings. We wanna make sure that our customers are feeling like that we're genuinely trying to take care of them. Like the last thing you guys want is to put a customer in a situation where they can't afford to pay their bills because their car's too expensive. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a good feeling. Like we don't want to do business like that. We want to do business with customers to where they're going to want to come back and do business with us again and send their friends and send their family. So we got to make sure that we take care of them in all those aspects, right? But yeah, everything else, like as you can see, it's all pretty straightforward. Was there a specific question you had about it?
No, not about the. For me, it was just more along the lines of like when to apply it, because some dealerships have different times that they apply it. Like House of Cars, they apply it immediately.
Right. So that's why this is exactly what I'm saying here. So House of Cars is great for that, because that's why you need to just embed it in your mind as part of your process. You should always at least ask and have a credit app.
Every time now.
Yeah, but either way, you're gonna end up doing business with us anyways. So we're gonna have to check it and we're gonna have to submit it, right? So obviously there was a reason you didn't do business over there, and it was because they didn't take care of you, but obviously we're gonna take care of you, right? I just go back to that because you should always just be reiterating that, again, we're of service to the customers. They're coming in here to spend a lot of money. So that's why even when I was teaching you guys the meet and greet and stuff like that, it's like you got to be genuinely excited when people come in, you know, and just really, really show how much you appreciate the fact that they're here and they're willing to do business with us. You know, you don't want people that are willing to do business with us just because we're the closest Hyundai and like, oh man, I don't even want to do business with those guys, but just because I live close, I'm going to do business anyways with them. Like, we don't want that, right? We want you guys to be on point where like all your customers are like super happy and they're like telling me about them. You know, like, oh yeah, boss was great. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, how was the boss treating you? Oh man, he's great. You know what I mean? I'm sending all my friends, all my family to him. You know, that's how we want you guys to be. That's all gonna take time, but the one controllable that you guys have is your level of excitement and the energy that you put out. And I always reiterate the same things, and that's why I was going over that last week with the meet and greet. Like, and even if like customers are just starting their shopping and stuff like that, make it a good experience for them. You know what I mean? Help them out as best you can and fill your pipeline, right? So you fill your pipeline so your CRM is bursting with so many customers to follow up. That way, when you come in, you have so many calls you can make. It's easy for you guys. You're like, oh yeah, I already got these like 20 people that have been here over the last 30 days that I've talked to. Boom, you're following up with all those people, calling them, right? Letting them know you're just like, hey, I'm still here if you guys need anything. You know, like I mentioned to you before, you just started your process and I respect that, but I just want to let you know we're actually having an event, you know, this last Saturday of the month. You know, I just wanted to let you know because I know you were saying that you just started the process, but it would be a good opportunity for you if you wanted to save some extra money, right? So you got to have a reason why you're calling people too. You are going to send them a text message, right? Because you're thanking them for coming in, but you're going to reach out to them the next day and see what's going on, right? And just letting them know, hey, I just wanted to say thanks again, you know, for coming into the dealership yesterday. I just want you to let you know, like, we appreciate the opportunity to earn your business, right? Write that down, actually. We appreciate the opportunity to earn your business.
I say that every email. Like,
That was my go-to on everything. I text somebody, I email somebody, I talk to them in person. You know, you're letting them know, and they can feel if you're genuine about it. Like, hey man, I appreciate the opportunity to serve you and actually help you get into what you're looking for. So it can be reciprocated to me, and that I can actually make some money so that I can pay my bills. You know, I appreciate that. And then customers, they feel that. And like those type of things, they go a long way. Because believe me, you don't want to be, there's some people who operate in a shady kind of way, and like, you know, they don't care about the customer, it's just about the money and stuff like that. And that's when you run into so many problems. You run into so much heat. We get bad reviews. We have so much shit we got to deal with. I hate dealing with that type of shit. When I was on the sales floor, I never had nonsense to deal with like that. And I dealt with all my own heat, and the only heat that I ever had was like if a customer was like trying to tube, you know, because they just changed their mind, you know, whatever happens. Oh, my family in the Philippines, my mom, you know, like they're in the hospital, like always some crazy story, right? It's all nonsense. Like people come up with the craziest stories as to why they don't want to move forward on the car. This year, and let's say I'd have 25 rights for the month, like I would maybe have one or two that wouldn't go through. You know what I'm saying? But that was because my process was so tight. So this is another thing. Like, just write down, keep my process tight. Okay, keep my process tight. And definitely ask that kind of question. Like, if somebody's very, very like stickler on, they want to know what the payments are. Like, if they're financing, let's say, well, no, I need to know what the payments are before I test drive anything. And then you gotta dig a little bit there. Okay, so is the most important thing to you just having a car that the payments work for you, or would you prefer to get a car that fits for everything that you're looking for? Well, no, I'm just budget conscious, right? Let's say they're like, oh no, I'm just budget conscious. Like that's all that matters to me. Okay, so have you been to any other dealerships and did you find some cars that fit your budget, or what's going on? And you will get the odd customer. Like I remember when I was on the sales floor, this one customer that came in, and same thing, they were like, yeah, no, like we just need to know if you have anything that's gonna fit our budget. Like that's literally the only thing that we care about. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, so like give me some context. Like what happened? Like did you try going to another dealership and they don't have anything that works for you, you know? And they're like, yeah, we tried going to a few different places. This is the lowest payment we were able to get. We actually need to be at, it was something crazy. And this was back when we had lower interest rate. Like, oh, we need to be at like $130 bi-weekly with zero down. You know what I mean? I was like, damn. I'm like, but so you're saying if I have a car, I can get you 130 bi-weekly, zero down, then we could get something done right now, is what you're saying, right? So you got to use people's words against them right off the hop and go for the close. Go for the trial close. Well, if he's paying 190 on a 5-year-old car that doesn't have any warranty, okay, but you're going to be upgrading to a brand new vehicle with full warranty, and it's going to be a little bit more than that. And you're saying you don't want to do that because your payments are comfortable the way they're at. So look, what I would say to that is there's a reason why you came into the dealership in the first place. There's something about that car that's not working for you, right? Is that fair to say? So if there's something that's not working for you for that car, at the end of the day, you do got to calculate the fact that your maintenance on that car and like keeping that car for a certain period of time is going to end up costing you about the same or more than if you got into a newer car, because that vehicle is depreciating over time. So if you keep that car for another year, it's going to depreciate, it's going to have more kilometers, and it's going to cost you more in maintenance. Versus if we get you into a brand new one, and let's say your payments are $40 or $50 bi-weekly more, like we can break down all the numbers, brother, but I'm telling you, it's going to make more sense for you to just get into something newer now rather than waiting till your car causes you more problems, costs you more money, and depreciates more. Does that make sense? Right? So you got to build a case and let people know. Like you're almost like we're educating customers at the end of the day. It's like they don't know. Like they in their brain they think that this makes sense. Well, this is what I'm paying now, so I should be paying the same for this car. But then you got to like ask them, be like, well, how does that make sense? If you're financing an old vehicle that doesn't have warranty, but you want to get into a brand new one that's going to be more reliable and safe for you and your family, why should it be the exact same? Can you explain to me? And like some people are super unreasonable, like, well, that's just what I want to pay. But okay, well, unfortunately, Tabish, that's not how it works, right? But I'm more than happy and willing to explain to you how it works. But at the end of the day, I can assure you we're going to find you a car that fits everything you're looking for. And after I explain everything to you, you're going to understand that you're actually saving more money getting out of this car now and getting into something newer rather than waiting and trying to find a car that's going to fit your budget. Does that make sense? Right? So yeah, like I said, you got to be prepared for any type of customer that comes in. And if somebody says that to you, like if they're like, yeah, like, well, no, Keisha, hang on. Like, I just want to know what the payments are and what the car is going to cost me before we go on a test drive. They're like, hey, no worries, Keisha. I understand where you're coming from. But I mean, first I would say is, would you buy a pair of shoes that didn't fit you? Obviously you wouldn't, because it doesn't matter what those shoes cost. If you can't get the usage out of it that you want, then you're not going to buy them anyways, even if they're on sale. If you're size 12 and you have a size 10 shoe that's on sale, like for 50% off, are you going to buy it? No, of course not, right? But here's another thing that I want to mention to you, and this is a good thing to do. You always give customers a story, okay? So stories are important because they can relate to it because it's another customer, okay? So look, boss, the thing is, I get it, man. You want to make sure the payments make sense for you, but I just want to give you a little bit of insight on a situation that happened to me before. And this was actually pretty recent. It was about a month ago. So I had a customer that came in. He said, no, Denny, I just want to get the payment and make sure it makes sense. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters to me. And I was like, you know what? Sure. I'm gonna help you out with that. All right, Raj? I'm gonna go get the payment here for you and make sure it makes sense. Him and I spent 45 minutes negotiating back and forth. Okay? We finally came to an agreement. He was happy, we were happy, it was all good. Okay? Then he's like, all right, well, let's test drive the car now. I'm like, sure, no problem, let's test drive the car. We take the car for a test drive. Within 2 minutes, he told me this car doesn't have enough power. I don't like this car. It was an Elantra he was looking at. Okay? I was like, hey, no worries, man. So let's go back and, we're gonna test drive the Sonata. I think the Sonata is gonna work for you. It has a little bit more pep. I think that's gonna be better, okay? So we went back and then we test drove the Sonata, and he actually loved the Sonata. It had enough power for him. We went back, then guess what? We had to start negotiating again. So we negotiated for another hour, finally got a deal. So instead of him letting me do my job, which is find you the right vehicle, I let the customer take over and spend all this extra time. And look, I respect your time, so I don't want to do that. So why don't we just make sure that we find you the right vehicle first, and I can assure you I will do everything in my power to make sure that it works for you. Is that fair? Right? So you're just like, you got to put the salesman hat on, but in a way of service, right? And it's like you're respecting people's time. Like, you don't want to waste their time. It's like a boss. Like, come on, man. Like, I know you don't want to shop all day, right? So like, let's find you the right car, and then when we find you the right car, I can guarantee we'll find you. We'll make sure that it works for you. Price is the easiest part of my job, right? I'm not going to let you walk out of this dealership without getting the deal that makes sense for you and without you getting the car that you actually want. Okay?
It's funny, I actually use that price is the easiest part of my job on the guy I sold last.
It is, yeah. You can say that to customers. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You got to let them know, like, guys, I don't take care of the pricing, right? This is another thing I want you guys to remember and do it. I can be the bad guy. That's no problem, right? And even when I come talk to them after you guys been negotiating back and forth, and they're like, oh, this is the guy we've been going against, right? But then as soon as I break that barrier and break the ice, and I'm all nice and stuff, and they're like, oh, actually, I like Denny. He's a cool guy, you know? Then all of a sudden it's all good, and we're all on the same team. It's like, guys, we're all on the same team here. But this is how you want to phrase it with your customers. You want to let them know, look, Juanbo, man, it's you and me versus the managers, brother. I can assure you, I want to get you the lowest price possible to make sure that I can earn your business. Because look, if you walk out of this dealership without a deal, without a car, guess what? I didn't do my job, and I did a disservice to you. So I can guarantee you I will do everything I can to make sure that this works for you, right? And then when you're negotiating back and forth, and they're like being unreasonable and stuff like that, you're talking to them and be like, look, like, I don't want to take that. That's super unreasonable. I do know kind of what the threshold is on what we can do, but also I want you to know, like, we're working on this together. You know, you make it fun. It's not as like combative. When you're negotiating with people, you should make it like fun. Like we're like, you're laughing and it is what it is. Like, it's not a big deal, right?
The last car I sold, when I was doing quite, it was probably my first one that I handled the negotiations and everything by myself. So it felt like one of my first sales. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I'm about to go back and like see if we can just get like this much closer, right? I'm literally saying, I'm like, if you hear, like, wish me luck. If you hear me yelling at him, like, I was making it a joke. And,
Yeah.
you know, making it seem like I'm actually going back for a battle to like,
Exactly.
get them the best price.
Exactly.
And then you're sitting there laughing.
Well, it's good though.
$3K down.
Because and we'll get a time where we go and like spend more time on just negotiating and going back and forth and stuff. This is just basic stuff that I want you guys to understand, so that when you do get into your negotiations, you're thinking, okay, this is what Denny was talking about. Let's not make this, even if the customer's energy is like, oh no, like, I don't want to pay. You gotta try to bring them their energy back down and be like, whoa, boss, I get it, man. Like this is just regular price, brother. You know what I mean? Like, I work for you at the end of the day. You know, I can't just go to my manager and be like, hey, give me the best price right now, because look, we don't negotiate against ourselves. That doesn't make sense. If you're posting a car on Kijiji, you want $10,000, and I come and look at your car and say, hey, what's your best price? What are you going to say? You're going to negotiate against yourself and be like, yeah, I'll give you 2 for 7? Of course not. Come on, you're going to be like, hey, well, what kind of offer can you give me, sir? I want $10,000. That's my best price, right? So it's the same kind of thing. You come into the dealership, we don't negotiate against ourselves, guys. That's the weakest way of negotiating. Like, you know that. We're professionals here. But we're going to still make it work for you, but you got to be reasonable, right? So these little things, all the little things, they do add up at the end of the day, especially when the more time you have with customers, the more people you have in front of you, right? Okay, I know you did ask a little bit about phone stuff, so why don't we just leave us where we're at right now on the process, okay? And then let's do a little bit of phone stuff, okay? So right now, so for like cold calls you guys have been making, what's a pitch that you guys have been using? Here, you know what? Let's just jump right into some role playing, okay? I'll be your customer, okay? You're gonna call me, I have something, you wanna call me and ask me, and just give me your pitch, and then we can critique it, and then I can give you guys some adjustments, okay?
Anyway, okay, ring.
Hello.
Hey Denny, how's it going? It's Justin with Country Hills Hyundai.
I'm good, man. How are you? What's up?
I'm good, thank you for asking. Hey, hold on. Hey, so reason for my call, I'm sure you're wondering. I noticed you have a 2016 Elantra, and I actually have a customer that is looking for one of those specifically. Now, what that means for you is I can possibly get you more than your vehicle's worth on Black Book, and I can get you an exceptional deal on a new vehicle. I was just wondering when possibly you could possibly come in, and then actually, I kind of start off with more of a file takeover kind of thing. It's like, hey, I've just gotten your
No,
file.
we're on the phone here right now. Keep going. Keep going.
But yeah, I was just wondering when you can maybe come in to explore this option.
Yeah, I was not planning on trading my car in or anything, man. But thanks for calling, Justin.
Of course, Denny. No, before I let you go, I haven't really given you a reason to be interested. Let me get some information about your vehicle so I can get you some numbers to kind of get you interested, give you a reason to come in and see me, because you wouldn't be interested if I didn't call you and give you a reason to be interested, wouldn't you? Right? Something like that.
Okay. All right. Okay, it's good. Can I coach you on that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the first part is at the start, when you're getting into a conversation with a customer, is you want to. Do you want me to coach you or not? So you want to get into a conversation with the customer, which means you're going to let them talk, right? So you start asking them questions, and then you let them talk, and then you start engaging them in that aspect, right? You don't want to just jump right into the pitch and just like, blah, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times customers are not super receptive to that. So you want to do it in a way where you're almost building rapport and having a longer conversation on the phone, because the longer, and I want you guys to write this down, the longer your conversation, your phone call, let's say the longer your conversation on the phone, the higher the probability of a sale. So the longer the conversation on the phone, the higher the probability of a sale.
Yeah, I don't spend any time on the phone at all.
And if you, okay, well, see, that's a bit of a problem. I mean, if you can get the appointment right away, sure, but you got to keep in mind, that is not going to be a solid appointment. That's going to be what's called a hot dog appointment, where the customer just wants to get you off the phone. So he's like, yeah, okay, no worries, right? The times where you'll be the most successful on a phone call is if you're taking time because the customer's interested. So if the customer's interested, they're going to ask you more questions about it. Oh, okay, like, tell me more, not that exactly, but they're going to be like asking you more questions and want to know more information. So it's just depends on how you frame the call, right? So what I would start is here, like I'm going to call you, okay? Let's say I call Keisha, okay? Ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Hi, Keisha. It's Denny calling from Country Hills Hyundai. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Hey, I just wanted to give you a quick phone call here, Keisha. So we like to keep in contact with any of our previous clients. I can see here that you bought a 2019 Hyundai Kona. I just wanted to ask, are you still driving that vehicle?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, excellent. And if you mind me asking, how many kilometers are on that car?
About 93.
93? Okay, so under 100,000? Okay, perfect. So the reason why I was asking was I actually had 8 files that came onto my desk from my general manager, and he wanted me to contact you specifically. So you being under the 100,000 kilometers means that you do qualify for the program, and it's called a pull ahead program. So it's a really good opportunity for you if you were even 1% interested in possibly upgrading your vehicle. Okay, and then you say something to me.
Yeah, I've been interested. Do you have any of the 2024s? Or...
Yeah, so actually these would be for any of our brand new cars specifically, Keisha. So I don't know if you've seen the new 2024 Kona, but it's absolutely stunning. And the fact that you've enjoyed your Kona, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if you enjoyed your Kona, honestly, you're gonna absolutely love the 2024. The redesign is amazing. But I have another couple questions here for you, just to make sure that you qualify for the program. Is that okay?
Okay.
So one question is, what's your payment right now on that vehicle?
It's about 418 monthly.
418 a month, eh? Okay. And do you know roughly how much money you still owe on it?
Roughly about 13.
13,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I asked that is because I do have some of that information obviously in front of me, but I wanted to verify it because you're in what's called the sweet spot. So the sweet spot basically, Keisha, is chances are, you know, depending on the condition of the car, obviously we got to look at it, make sure it looks good, make sure that, you know, the tires, brakes, and all that stuff, depending on how much money we got to put into it. You're in the sweet spot, which means we can actually get you into a brand new vehicle, keep your payments around the same. Okay, so that's the key word here, around the same. So around the same could be, you know, from 200 to 280. Yeah, you're around the same. It's $80 biweekly more, right? It's around the same. So everybody's definition of that is going to be different. But it's also how you frame your mindset about it. So if you think like, oh, well, like maybe I think $50 biweekly is too much more, you know what I mean? But in their mind, they might not even, oh yeah, that is around the same. Only $50 more, no problem. That's nothing, right? So don't be somebody who says no for your customer before they even say no, right? So that's another thing is you got to frame your mindset to where around the same, because I've had times where customers, we'd call them with this pitch and we'd get them in and their payment is like $90 more biweekly. And they're still ecstatic about it. Because remember, I want you guys to remember this too, it's a numbers game, right? Obviously, if you polish your pitch, it's going to be a higher percentage of people that you can close on the phone and get an appointment, okay? Anyway, sorry, let's continue to go through this. So you're, like I said, you're what's called in the sweet spot, Keisha. And basically your payments will be around the same and we'll get you a brand new vehicle and you're gonna have full manufacturer's warranty. So 5 years, 100,000 kilometers, you don't have to worry about anything. So it's a really good opportunity. I was wondering if you wanted to pop by, would later today or tomorrow work better for you?
Probably tomorrow works better for me.
Okay, are you a morning or afternoon type of person, or are you working?
I could probably swing by. How late are you open till?
So we're open till 6. I do actually have 2 spots available. I have one at 4:15 p.m. and then I actually have another one open at 5:15. Which one works better for you?
Oh, let's do 5:15.
5:15, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that in, Keisha. And if there's any reason that you can't make it in tomorrow, could you please just give me the courtesy and shoot me a text or call me and let me know? Just because I have specifically put that time aside for you. And if something happens on my end where I can't actually help you out, then I'll give you the same courtesy. Is that fair?
Yeah, is this your number, Denny? Can I contact you?
Yeah, of course you can, but I'm actually gonna shoot you a text as well, just to confirm the appointment. And then if you, for whatever reason you need to contact me, you can message me on there or call me as well, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 5:15 p.m., Keisha.
All right, thank you, Denny.
Okay, see you then, bye-bye. Okay, so another thing that I did there is always, whenever you're giving people options for appointments, just give them 2 options, right? The first thing I said was morning or afternoon, or sorry, later today or tomorrow.
I like that later
Right?
today or would Saturday be applicable for you?
Well,
Later
it's
today or
exactly.
later tomorrow or Saturday?
Yeah, don't ask people, well, when can you come in? Because it gives them an option to just be like, oh, well, I can't make it I'm busy, right?
Busy till next week.
Yeah, and also you're gonna get people that are gonna give you some even objections over the phone. So that's another thing is your objection handling while you're over the phone, right? Like that was a relatively easy call, but sometimes you'll have customers that are kind of interested, but they'll give you some objections like, oh, I can't come in, like, oh, I have work. Oh, no worries, what time do you typically work till? You know what I mean? Oh, well, I'm working till 5. Okay, well, we're open till 8, you know, and I do actually have an availability open at 6:15. So if you could make it for that, that would actually work great. Can you come in at 6:15, right? And you're still pushing forward for the appointment. So that's another thing is don't quit on the call. Write that down. Don't quit on the call.
I like asking customers how long or what time they work till. I've been keeping note of that to myself, like even when I'm guest sheeting them.
Yeah.
What time do you usually work? What's a great time to reach you? Because then I'm not going to have a problem following up with them. I'm going to reach more people.
Exactly.
Type shit. So.
Yeah.
You gotta make a video on don't quit on the phone.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I will. Like a reel, yeah, I will, for sure. We'll make one.
There was this girl yesterday, and yesterday was my day off, and she was supposed to be coming in. She canceled an appointment earlier this week, and so I called her actually right afterwards because I heard a boss call one of his no-shows, and he closed them and got them in that like later that day.
Yeah.
Right? So I called up my no-show, and she rebooked for yesterday, and then she didn't show up, so I called her up, and she's like, "Oh, I was at the doctor's with my daughter all morning." I was like, "No worries, like I understand schedules could be busy and this and that." So I'm getting her to send me a little bit more information from
Yeah.
her, like about her car and stuff like that, just so I can have a little bit more to go off of and be like, okay, so your payments are here. I have this vehicle and this vehicle, just so that it looks like we've already cut down the process a little bit,
Yeah.
so that she doesn't feel like she's bringing her daughter in. The daughter's gonna start screaming in an
100%,
hour,
100%, 100%. So that's another thing is when you do book an appointment with somebody, you have to respect their time and make sure that you're attentive to them and you're getting all the vehicles prepared, whatever they're looking for. So that when they come in, it's like, you know, you sit them down, you have a conversation with them, of course, you offer them water, coffee, right? And then you already have the car prepared. So if they're like a specific car they're looking for, or if you know they're going to be upgrading to like a brand new Kona, then it's like you already checked to make sure that the keys are available, you have a plate, you're ready to go, the customer's going to be coming in right away, right? Unless it's a Saturday and like we don't want you hanging on to plates like this, no bueno, right? So let's not do that. Okay. All right, let's go through our little meet and greet thing real quick, and then next week maybe I know we'll spend more time, but I hope you got a little bit of something from that. So if you can just like, and again, remember when you're calling somebody, call them like you know them, because like they're in our database. It's not like a cold call. These calls are not that cold because they know us and they've done business with us. So if they've done business with us once, they'll do business with us again, right? So if you approach it the right way, the customer's going to be like, oh, okay. Like, because if you never ask like when you call somebody, oh, is this a boss? Like, of course it's a boss. It's a boss's number. And if it's not a boss, then you're not talking to the right person anyways, right? So it doesn't matter. They'll tell you, no, this is not a boss. Oh, sorry, man, I got the wrong number. Who am I speaking with? You know what I mean? And then it's not going to matter anyways. Okay, so that's another thing. Don't ask. You already know who you're talking to. So call them like they're your friend.
I'm like, hey, Amandeep, how's it going?
Yeah, exactly. Justin, how are you, man? You know, get excited about it. Make sure you have some energy and enthusiasm on the phone too, because believe me, that goes a long way. Because people like they get this phone call, and like, have you ever got somebody who called you like for something?
Yeah.
And like when it's kind of weak and shit, like you just want to, you're like, bro, I just hang up on people now, right? I don't have time for that shit. I'm like, yeah, your shit's weak. Click. You know what I mean?